Everyone talks about motivation, but is it really consistency that changes your life for the better? For most of my life, I used to wait to feel motivated. And then I realized that the people winning don't do that. They show up. So today, me and Adam are going to explore what it means to be consistent and the power that consistency can have in your life, either positively or negatively. So, welcome back to Temporally Scripted. And Adam, it's great to see you here again, my friend.
Yeah, likewise, my friend. It's been a little while, but I guess we're back.
We're back. New rooms, new
More
backgrounds.
consistent than ever.
More consistent, consistently moving to a new house every 6 months.
Yeah. Escaping something, but I'm not quite sure what.
Exactly, yeah. Well, this is it. It's not too far away this time, at least. So, consistency is an interesting one. And I think we've both been consistent on, positive and negative things throughout our lifetimes, and probably more positive than negative these days. But yeah.
Yeah, because I guess consistency really, it's much the same as habits in many ways. It's just something that you always do in a lot of respects. And that can be something amazing, or it can be something absolutely terrible that completely wrecks your life. It's up to you which kind of direction you want to go in, really.
Yeah, like consistently smoking 40 cigarettes a day, for example.
It might give you a bad cough, but at least you look cool.
Yeah, this is it. But I think motivation is an interesting one to start with, because obviously people will say that consistency comes from motivation, and it's something that I would have agreed with in the past. In my 20s, I would sit there and be like, wow, if only I had more motivation, I'd be able to get on with this and do this thing that I want to do. And, but I had plenty of motivation to play like Football Manager for 12 hours in a row and various other things. And I feel like the thing I've learned as I've got older is that motivation is driven by action.
Oh, okay. So how do you mean? Like the action comes first and then the motivation increases with the action, or?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to say that I coined this, but then later we might find out that I got it from somewhere else and I've just forgotten. But the phrase that I came up with, yeah, in my head is that action breeds motivation. And that means that just doing things is where the motivation to do more things comes from. And I think it's deeper than that, in the sense that humans are meant to solve problems. It's literally our whole purpose is to solve the problems that are put in front of us. And if we don't have problems, we create them in order to then have to push ourselves to be motivated to deal with them. And I also think it's extra fuckery, because the better you get at dealing with problems, the bigger the problems become.
It could be, yeah. Just going back a little bit to something you said, it's like I think we're always meant to be solving problems and doing stuff. So times in my life when I haven't been doing exercise or working out, I seem to be increasingly lazy with everything else at those times. But then times when I'm going to the gym like 4 days a week or something like that, all those little jobs, little things around the house that you might see, and like ordinarily you'd look at it and go, I'll do that later. When you're in that habit of just doing stuff all the time that's like physical or whatever, it doesn't really seem like that much extra effort, and you're just like, I'll do that now. I'll do it. And it's like you get into a different mindset. And I don't know if it's like partly the closer that we get to our natural state, which is kind of exerting energy and solving problems, maybe the more sort of alive we become. And perhaps you're right, that is where the motivation comes from.
I totally agree with that. Yeah. And I've noticed the same thing, is that if you are consistently doing something that's a positive habit, such as working out or keeping things tidy or whatever, it then bleeds over into other things. Although that being said, there has been a sock on my stairs for like the last 7 days, and I'm at a stage where I'm refusing to move it, because everyone's walking past this sock. It's not my sock. It doesn't belong to me. and I'm kind of staging a little protest by not picking up the sock like I normally would.
Are you getting a lot of attention for your protest? So are things changing around the house now that you're laying down for law? And
it seems not. The sock is still very much present in its place in the middle of the stairs. So yeah, I'm probably going to crack today, to be honest. It's a bit like day 10 of a hunger strike. I just can't stand looking at that. It's like seeing a donut on day 10 of a hunger strike. Like I can't stand looking at that sock every time I go past it. But hey ho, that's another story,
Good. Well, we'll do a whole episode about the sock protest next week. Stay tuned, folks. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Like and subscribe if you want the sock story. Yeah, for sure. But I think one of the things as well about consistency, and specifically consistency with good habits, is boring.
Yeah, it is. It's not an exciting part of your day doing that consistent thing, but I guess whatever it may be, whether it's like spending that hour finding leads for your business or spending that hour in the gym or whatever else, it's not, you don't think, oh, wicked, I can't wait for this. It's like, it is still, it's not exciting. It's not like the sort of chaotic sort of spur of the moment kind of decisions that we make.
It's uncomfortably boring. Like I found on Monday, I woke up this week on Monday with a serious case of the Mondays, and then it rolled into a serious case of the Tuesdays, and to be fair, Wednesdays. I'm feeling a bit better today because I've seen your face, but I had a case of the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays this week. And as I was going through that process, I was thinking to myself, I don't drink anymore. I don't smoke. I eat well. I exercise. I get consistently, do all the things that I need to do for my business every day. And it just feels like nothing's happening. I just feel lost in this identity of being this consistent human. And I think part of it is moving away from an old identity into a new one. And that evolving process happens. But I think it's also that when you're doing all the right things consistently, it feels like nothing's happening. And the story I used for this with someone yesterday was like, when I was a little kid, my dad was really into gardening. My dad was well into gardening and stuff. And obviously, it'd get me involved and we'd plant seeds. And after a day, the seed being planted, I'm like, Daddy, where is it? Why is it not growing yet? He's like, son,
just faulty.
Just be patient. It's only been a day. And I'd wait till he goes away. And then I'd secretly go into the greenhouse and uncover the seeds and have a look, be like, yeah, it's not growing yet. Cover it back over. And this would continue for a few weeks and nothing would grow. Right. So eventually my dad cottoned on to this. He's like, put barbed wire around the greenhouse. No, not really. If you keep checking them. So lo and behold, as I stopped checking them. And then after a few weeks, suddenly you've got like a tomato plant and a pea sprout coming out. And it's like, oh, wow, look at all this greenery that's in here because I left it. And it feels like it almost appeared overnight.
Yeah, and it's kind of, and I guess it sort of did, but it didn't. It took all that time for all the roots to form and all the little networks to be made underneath and everything to like develop and sprout out of a seed, and all of that took time. And I guess that's like the consistency thing. And it's a good analogy for it as well. But it's like you just kind of set the ball rolling and just let time do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it is. It's kind of like the sort of thing with compound interest and things like that, which is kind of fascinating in a way. So if you had $100 today and you could grow it by 1% every day, so like tomorrow you'd have $101, the next day you'd have 102 point, but anyway, you're growing it by 1% each day. But after 10 years, you'd have roughly $1.37 billion.
Crazy.
And that's, yeah. And it's that tiny little gain every day. Compound interest is amazing. It's like after, you see, if you look at all the numbers on a chart, you see the first bit, no matter what the starting figure is, and it looks really boring. Then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, really big amounts, but it's going up by every day. And I guess that's the idea in life and consistency. It's that. If you're improving your business, your health, your life, whatever, by whatever tiny percentage each day, then it's going to lead to huge things. Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world, which is really cool because it is this incredibly powerful thing. And it's the same with like Warren Buffett. I think it was 90% of his wealth was made after the age of 60. And again, that's just, it's compounding the interest all the time. And all of a sudden it's like, and you're like one of the richest people out there.
Crazy. And assumably is a new word I've just invented, and we're going to run with it.
I like it.
Yeah. Assumably, that's a universal truth. You know, it's like one of those things that just applies to everything. Like I guess, you know, the curve of being in not understanding something and you being in that ignorance place, and then ignorantly aware and blah, 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 all of that. It kind of applies to everything. I would guess this compounding effect applies to everything, right? Apart from things like Duolingo, because I've been doing that for years and I still can only say that the goat is at the train station.
But this is the thing with Duolingo. Well, they've taken that idea where people really like to be consistent. And so they've got that thing, or just spend 5 minutes a day learning a new language. You go, okay, and you keep doing it. And I think they've hooked into that thing and that gamification. It's like, oh, my streak's up to like 628 now, whatever it may be. And they've kind of just gotten into that and got people hooked, while at the same time teaching a language in the slowest way imaginable. I remember a while ago, I was trying to learn Spanish, and I found these old kind of tapes by a French guy called Michel Thomas, who is like he's like a war hero, and he spoke like 5 different languages and stuff like that. But he had this technique of teaching Spanish in just this amazing way. By the end of one lesson, you're just like, I can say all this stuff. That's amazing. With Duolingo, like you say, you just keep going on, and it's like the carrot likes to ride in a boat, and it's like, but then it comes to like ordering in a restaurant and you don't know how to say, I'd like a table for 2. You know, it's this bizarre thing.
Well, if you think about it, there's no reason or benefit for you to learn the language quicker. Because if you're a free user of it, they will be able to send you more adverts, which means they can boost their numbers and get more advertising revenue. And if you're a paid user, you're paying like a monthly or an annual fee for using it. So there's no incentive for you to learn a language. But the thing is, you'd think there would be, in the sense that once you've learned one language, if you've learned it really easily and really well, you might think, oh, do you know what? I want to learn Klingon now or something. And, you know, you can go and spend another bit of time learning whatever else. So
enriching your life with Klingons.
I mean, exactly. If you go, you know, you'd be the life and soul at any, you know, one of those weird cosplay events that people go to.
Oh, conventions.
Oh, that's what it's called. Yeah. Cosplay is something else, isn't it? Terrible. Shouldn't say that when you live as close to Japan as we do. But yeah, there's no real benefit to Duolingo teaching people how to learn languages. And I actually went through the pressure of deleting my Duolingo with a 3-year streak about 9 months ago. And I had like a 3-year streak.
I gave up mine, and mine was almost 3 years, or maybe over, actually. It was some like 900 and something. But yeah, it was a lot of time I'd spent on it. And it just got to a point where I was like, this is pointless. It's like started learning chess on it rather than learning the language. It's just like, and that was kind of the same thing, just these repetitive things where it's not really teaching you that much. And there's so many faster ways to learn. And like you say, it's not in their interest for you to get good at this language and then go, all right, I don't need that anymore. They just want to keep everybody on there for as long as possible.
Yeah, for me, it was like I was going in there every day and basically just doing the first lesson in like 25 seconds just to keep my streak going. Because I was like, I can't be bothered to actually learn anything. I'm just going to... And your level of forgetting things as well. Like if you get to quite high levels on it, and then you don't do it because you're just doing the easy lesson every day for a couple of weeks to get through your streak. If you go back and try and do the hard lesson, you've forgotten it all. because it's just not going in the mind in any way, shape or form. So yeah, I think, you know, one of those things that you can be very consistent with, but not actually get anything out of. And I think there's a danger to that as well, isn't there? It's like you can consistently be doing something that you even think is a good habit. And I'm not talking, you know, I consistently drink beers after work. Like everybody knows that that's not good for you and it's going to catch up with you eventually. But then there's, you know, yeah, because, you know, it can be like a Monday night and everyone's out barbecuing and beering. But it could be a Monday lunchtime or a wedding at 7 a.m. or something.
Oh, yeah, because isn't it something like people go to see like a monk or a fortune teller or something, and they tell them like the best time to get married. And so it can be at some like ludicrous time of the morning. And maybe it's like if they don't pay the monk or whatever enough money, or they just decide to want to have a joke, they'll go, I think about 6:15 a.m. is a good time for you two to get married.
Just having a lend on it.
So I guess we've both done a very similar thing with Duolingo, and just gone on like the really easy mode where it's like a match or something like that, and do that for like 2 minutes a day or something. Has that been beneficial, or have you just wasted loads and loads of time?
That time I lost my glove at the train station, it was super useful. But apart from that, it was 38 degrees in Hanoi, and I happened to be going through the train station in my pair of woolen gloves. I took one of them off so that I could book a grab, because these woolen gloves are not the new kind where you can use a phone with them on. I left it on a bench, and as I went out, I exclaimed to the taxi driver, "My glove is in the train station." And he knew exactly what I said, and he went in and got it for me. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe that's worth its weight.
So, you know, I think we need to be careful, but it also adds a level to consistency, because you start to wonder if you're doing the right things when nothing's happening. And I feel like the way that I know if a habit's a good habit or a bad habit is how quickly you feel any kind of change or any kind of benefit. One of the things that I always questioned was like fitness, because I've been going to the gym for a couple of years and I felt like I've not really changed. Like there's not that much of a difference. That there clearly is, but it's not massive. And then you start to question, well, am I doing the right things? Am I doing the right exercises? Am I doing this and that? But then I actually realized that I did have a consistency problem, because I was going in and doing different exercises every time in the gym. It's like a lot of people think that you go in and the consistent bit is going to the gym 4 times a week. But you should also just do the same bench, the same incline, the same shoulder press, or whatever shoulder exercise you use. It shouldn't be you go in 1 week and do shoulder press, and then the next session you're doing dumbbell shoulder press, and then the next one you're on the machine, because you never build up the base of strength to move on. And so again, it's like the fun I had in the gym has to go away, because I need to do the same 5-6 damn exercises every time I go in for an extended period of time. And it's quite interesting. And even to diet, like this sounds mad and you're going to think I'm an idiot when I tell you this, but I always used to think that, say if you used to eat like burgers or whatever all the time and pizza, and you were roughly like this amount of calories, and it's pretty much, you know, for me, I was gaining fat. Then you change and you start eating really healthily, and you work out loads and you go to the gym. If you don't end up in a deficit, you won't get any less fat and your body won't change. You'll get stronger and you might have a little bit of a recomposition, but nothing major. It's like, unless you go into a deficit or into a surplus, if you're trying to gain muscle, nothing will ever change. So you can literally go from just eating Oreos all day to the calorie level, like we mentioned, I think, in one of the other ones, to eating like salads and whole foods and all of that and training. And unless something is either up or down, depending on which direction you're going in, nothing will change. You'll just get a bit healthier, but you'll still hold all the fat. And I was like, what? That's mental.
Between energy in, energy out.
Yeah, and that's physics. I get it. But I was just like, what? It just didn't seem right to me. Like, surely I would improve in some way, but no, apparently not. And now I'm in a deficit and eating tons of protein. I'm seeing it starting to change quite rapidly. It's weird, man.
I think with some of the gym stuff as well, it depends what you want to get out of it at the same time. It's like if you do want to grow like a certain set of muscles, then do a certain set of exercises all the time.
I already have a bigger right forearm, but that's for different reasons that we won't go into because we don't want to get banned.
But anyway, I think the main thing is, so with the gym as well, it's like whatever you're doing in there, generally you're going in and it's like it's a tough workout. By the end of it, you're tired. And it's like you are exercising all those muscles. You are getting stronger, whether you realize it or not. And then also it's like, how many years are you adding to your life by doing it? And I guess that's one of the things that you get from it, but you don't always know. And you're not going to think at the age of 79, oh, I would have been dead at 62 if I'd have continued the way I was before. You get the payoff, but you don't realize it. Maybe by working out and taking supplements and different things, you get sick one time, but you're not as sick as you would have been had you not have taken the supplements and worked out. But you can't gauge that. You can't tell. You're still sick and feeling like crap, but but you don't realize that you feel a lot less like crap than you would have.
Yeah, because you can't see what that reality would have been like. And I think as well, it's, you know, it's one of the things that I remember very much when I was a smoker and whatnot. I would always go to that story of, you know, the one uncle or auntie or something that lived to 100 and smoked 20 a day their whole life. And, you know, you always you look for that one thing. Nobody ever goes to, you know, the one uncle that was quite fit and healthy and lived to 100, because it's much more common that you have a fit and healthy relative or member that lives to an old age. And it's that classic thing. It's like people struggle to be honest in those situations. The same way, I don't know about you, but as a smoker, I was like, oh, I like it. I enjoy smoking. I don't want to stop. Why would I want to stop? It's great. I love it. It's like, okay.
Do you really?
Stinking and putting that horrible smoky thing in your mouth, and even if you've got a cold or a cough, you still go in and like, and it's the most smoking when you've got a bad throat and you're sick is like the most horrible thing ever. But I know I've done it.
Oh yeah, same. A lot.
Oh, I'm feeling slightly better actually. I think I could go and have a cigarette now. It's like, damn.
Oh, you know, you're really sick if you like haven't had a cigarette for 2 days or something. It's like, oh, I haven't even smoked for 2 days.
You know, it's killing me. It's killing me, this not being able to smoke. It's crazy. So you can kind of understand why people struggle with consistency, right? Because there's no instant sign that you're doing the right thing. There's no like reward in the short term for consistency. It's like, it's so slow that you barely notice that anything is happening.
It's like the thing that you said with the seeds, where if you plant a tomato seed now, you're not going to be eating tomatoes from that plant tomorrow. You have to wait for it to grow. You have to wait for it to go through the whole season. And then you can have some tomatoes. And I think a lot of consistency in life, it's like that, but on an even longer time frame.
It makes total sense. And I think as well, it's like when you're learning something that's hard, it takes time and you don't necessarily feel like anything is working or moving forward. And then what do you do to feel that dopamine, that rush? You know, what do you do instead? I guess you just have to get used to the feeling of nothing changing or moving,
which is really, really difficult, I think. And yeah, I don't know, and I don't know how you deal with that or frame it in your mind, because it's cool if you're working on something and all the way along there's like little bits, like say if you were making, I don't know, say if you were making an album or something like that, and you're going, okay, well, I've finished another track this week, that's wicked, or I've got the guitar done for this bit, or you know, and it's like it's nearing completion all the time, but you're consistently working on it for maybe months or something like that. But you're getting all these little bits where it's like, oh, cool, I've hit this stage, this is done, awesome. But with other things where you're not really getting that so much, you can go, oh, well, I've sent like sort of 275 emails this week. I didn't get any responses. So
yeah,
you need to reframe it and go, well, wicked. I applied myself and I sent all these emails. That's really cool. And have that as almost like a celebration or something. But it's easy to do it when out of all those emails, you got like 100 responses or something like that.
Yeah. And I think that it's like one of the important things of consistency is using the data that you're getting from that process and reacting to it, right? Because if you send 273 emails and you don't get any replies, there's likely a reason for that you can probably figure out. Like you can go and look at the way you wrote those emails and what you did and rule that out as a method that works. You know, if this method does not work, okay, now next week I'm going to try this method. And it's like, that's still
knocking door to door.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's still consistent because you're doing the same action. And I think that does make sense. And it comes into something that came through in your research, in the fact that a lot of people will mistake exhaustion for consistency. But you do need to make sure that the little signs of movement are there whenever you're doing any of these things, right? There should be some movement. It shouldn't be that like nothing at all ever is changing. Like if you're going in the gym and lifting like 20 kilos on the bench press, and after like 3 months you're still at 20 kilos, then there's probably something not quite right, unless it's lateral raises, in which case it'll be 5 kg until you die, basically. You know the whole
yeah
unless it's, in which case it's fine, there's no problem. Like you go in and you see guys that are massive, like, you know, full of roids, and they're still 5 kg.
Always looks funny because it's like a tiny little weight in the hand.
yeah. Like if you feel an extra weak, you might have to go and get the 2.5s. But there is an important point there. It's like, I think one of the skills of consistency is getting good at noticing the signs of progress, noticing the very small changes that are happening and celebrating them and being grateful for them and spotting that. So, for example, for me in business, whenever I speak to people, they say how good my content is. I don't necessarily get tons of business through my content right now, but content takes a long time. You know, people have to get a certain amount of ideas from your stuff before they decide to take an action. So the fact that people are mentioning my content to me more than they were before might not seem like a massive thing, but it means that it's landing. You know, like it means that people are seeing it and it's working. It might not be in the numbers yet. It might not be in the amount of likes or comments or subscriptions or whatever, but there is a sign of movement.
Yeah. And so I guess to a certain degree, it's good to sort of focus on those things, those changes that happen. So it might not be that everything's going away, but it might be like, oh, well, it's cool because I got responses or messages or comments from people. Or instead of doing whatever weight on this machine, I've now knocked that up by 2.5 kilos or whatever this week. And I still did like my 15 reps or something.
Yeah.
And sort of making like little celebrations of things. Because I would imagine that kind of helps a lot in your mind because it just feels more like progress.
Yeah. And I mean, also having a realistic idea and expectation of how long something should take, roughly speaking. Right. So obviously you need to be careful on your source and you need to get a range. But if we take the business example again, most businesses don't make any money for 2 years. Like it's pretty normal for you to just struggle and barely make ends meet for 2 years. So if your expectation is you start something and within like a month, you're going to have like, yes, you're going to make some money. And then you're going to go, oh, well, now I need to do this course to get better at advertising, or I need to learn this process with this coach so that I can jump this level or whatever. And then, you know, so you make 5K, spend 5K, make 5K, spend 5K. Oh, I need this new system. I need this $100 a month thing. So it's like, it's going to be like this as you go through that, as you mentioned at the beginning, the compound interest graph, right? And for a business, the minimum point where that will start to go like this is 2 years. It could be 5 years. Do you know what I mean? It's like where before it really starts to go in the other direction. So I think one of the things that leads you to is there's a story about this guy who's like always wanted to buy a chainsaw, right? But there's like a big storm and one of the trees in his garden falls down And he's like, says to his wife, right, I'm going to go buy a chainsaw. And she's like, just hire someone to come in and do it. He's like, no, I'm going to go get the chainsaw. So he goes and buys this chainsaw, comes home, gets it out, ready to go, straight through the trunk of one of the trees, and then again straight through the next trunk, straight through the next trunk. And then suddenly he's like trying to get through this bit and it's not going anywhere. And he's there for hours, like trying to make it work. And he's wondering if there's something wrong with the saw and thinks, I've only just got this. Surely I don't need to sharpen it yet. And carries on. And then after like 7 hours, he's sat there defeated with 3 logs and a whole tree still in the garden. His wife's laughing at him from the window and stuff. And he's like, right, I'm going to go and get a sharpener. So he stops what he's doing, leaves the garden, goes to the store, buys a sharpener, comes back, sharpens the chainsaw, and then buzzes through the rest of the tree in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And the reason I'm telling this story is that like sometimes with consistency, you need to take a break and sharpen the saw, right? You need to just step back and go, right, let's just have a bit of time and figure out what's the best way to move forward. And it applies to everything. It's even like with the gym, you know, they tell you to do a deload every 6 weeks or 8 weeks. So you still go in, but you just lift really light weights for a week to give your body a chance to catch up and recover and all of this kind of stuff.
Tendons and connective tissues and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I think that's a really important thing for people to keep in mind when they're following this path of consistency is like, you still need to be able to read the signs of when do you take a break? When do you learn something else that's going to help you? And when do you just step back and let your brain process all the stuff that you're doing, you know?
Yeah, because it's difficult as well, because you could take some time out and reassess, and you could kind of go, I'm doing the completely wrong thing. It's not what I want to be doing. But then you already invested in the consistency that you've had going. And it's like, oh, do I just want to quit that now? Know what I mean? It's like, because you could be doing some business into like a complete sort of dead end kind of thing. But then you go, but I've been consistent on this for like the last so many years. And it's not really got anywhere, but you know, and that's one of the things with consistency as well, because it's on such a long time scale sometimes that if you get into it, but then you later realize this isn't the thing that you want to do, it could be for all kinds of reasons. You could sort of have some epiphany and decide that, actually it's like morally wrong to be in this business or whatever else it may be, or that it just isn't what you want to do. But then it seems like you've invested so much into that one thing that can make it really difficult to
make the decision to cut it away. Forget consistency, everybody. Just give up. You heard it. You heard it here first. The thing then is like every experience leads you somewhere, you know. I think taking those breaks where you're like, you know what, I don't really feel like this is the right thing. Your intuition is generally right on those things. It's a different voice that tells you to quit stuff when it's because you think it's too hard than the voice that's like, this just does not feel right. There's a difference. And I think learning to listen to yourself better, like I've had to rebuild many times in my life and it doesn't scare me. Like if I go to 0, I don't care because I've done it so many times. It's like, I've reinvented myself and moved into new things many times in my life. And I think the older you get, the more you've done that. So you know that something will happen and something will move. So it makes it easier. And at the same time, it's like you're picking up a skill or an experience that is giving you what you need for wherever you're meant to be, you know? My wife said this to me yesterday. She's like, sometimes you have to accept that existence is like being in a river. You just have to let it take you places sometimes. And the problem I have is I like to control things. So I'm trying to fight it to take me in this.
You're trying to build a dam.
Yeah.
And it is one of those things. It's kind of like Marcus Aurelius thing of like, don't get angry or upset about something that's completely out of your control, because it doesn't matter if you get upset about it or angry or not going to change it. It's like you want to go out for a picnic, but it starts raining. So you get angry, you go outside and just start shouting at the sky. And it's like, well, the sky doesn't care, and it's not going to stop just so you have a nice day.
Yeah, I mean, which I've tried it a few times. It doesn't work, It's
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, if anything, it gets you taken away and put in section. So,
have you tried shouting at the sock on the stairs yet to see if that helps?
Yeah, I think that might be the next move, or at least going and shouting at family members to see, who's responsible for the sock on the stairs. But yeah, I think going back to like Marcus Aurelius and these kind of folks, it's a good mindset to be in about consistency and just showing up and making the best of what you can do every single day.
Because I mean, there's a big thing just to that as well. Just actually being in that mindset of just whatever you're going to do it as well as you possibly can. And I think that's the thing that maybe it's why there's a lack of consistency in the younger generations than there was in the older generations. Because I think a lot more people like 30, 40 years ago, whatever they were doing, whether it was a job, whether it was a business, were more likely to just turn up and do their best every day. And I think people do that a lot less now.
Yeah, I think that's because you can literally be like, making mud cakes for your family in some Central African country while watching like Mr. Beast on TikTok, getting people to stand in squares for like $1 million or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So everyone it's easy to get delusions of grandeur and like what you think you deserve or where you should be in life, and not just be happy with what you're doing. And it's something that annoys me because I'm of that belief, and I've always been that way. If I have a job, whether I used to work in a call center, I used to work in a camping shop, like helping people put up tents when I was a student. I've done all kinds of jobs. I've washed people's cars when I was a young teenager. I've always done it with pride. And the pride for me is always to go and do the best possible job that I can do. So people will be like, you know what, that Jackie's a good guy. He works hard. He does his best. And for me, that's enough of a reward. So when I go to a restaurant and get served really badly, or someone comes and collects my bins and leaves rubbish all outside the front of my house and stuff, it makes me angry. And my wife will sometimes say, "Oh, well, it's because it's a rubbish job or whatever." And they don't. That rubbish job. That was a good pun. I didn't even mean to do that, but that was an accident. But do you know what I mean? It's garbage, that job, and that's why I never tip them. So, but yeah, it's not an excuse for me, because you should just show up and do your best, or don't do it. Go and do something else. There's always a choice. So I think back to what you said about stoicism and stuff, it's like people used to show up and do it because they didn't know any different. You didn't see like people living these crazy, lavish lifestyles all over your feed and social media every day.
Yeah, and I guess maybe you go back a few hundred years ago in England, there'd be a castle in the distance. There's a king or whatever in there, and he's got lots of nice stuff, having a nice time, but it's way over there, and you don't see the insides of it and the inside goings on and what a luxurious life there might be. Whereas now it is everywhere. And I guess we've had it for years where you've had like tabloid newspapers or celebrity magazines or whatever, where it's all about celebrity culture and people that have way more money than you. And I guess in the past we just didn't have that so much.
Yeah, I think because people want to sell things to people that are not lazy, but want an easy route to get stuff done. They don't talk about, well, it starts more, they do now, but they don't talk about their journey. And most of the people that have made tons of money that weren't born into it have done it through consistency.
Yeah, and a lot of consistency as well, because often it's times of like going bankrupt a number of times, or certain things not panning out or whatever, and then all of a sudden being on this like multi-million, multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah, you won't find a billionaire or a multi-millionaire out there that hasn't got close before and lost it all and had to go again. it'll be very unusual to find someone that hasn't happened to, and I think you have to prepare yourself for that in life. Is like something will come up. I think as going back to even the fitness stuff and like the health stuff, is like you said, suddenly you get this disease that might happen to you anyway, but the difference between you and another person will be that you're like, well, I'm just going to carry on anyway. I'm going to keep doing this thing anyway, even if I have this illness or this problem, or I'm going to get back to it. It's not like you go, oh, I've got cancer now, I'm going to start smoking and drinking again because I might as well. It's like,
yeah. Even sometimes terminal ones, it's for people who have that good mindset to sort of like carry on going, remain positive and sort of say, yeah, okay, well, that's it. I'm just going to keep on going, blah, blah. They're the ones that live through it longer or recover faster. It's same with like longevity as well, which I think we've covered before, where it's like people that are always like doing things and have like a positive, proactive attitude to life, they age better than other people who don't.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And I think it's a habit in itself, and it's also an understanding and a feeling of like when you start to see those results, then you know that the being consistent in the longer run is inevitable. The results are inevitable. It's like if I keep living the way I'm living, like things will happen. Even if you have a slip, like in the summer, I went a month around everyone's birthdays where I was drinking, and when I was drinking, I was smoking. But it was so much easier for me to just switch that off than it was the first time that I stopped drinking and smoking, for example.
And that's just this year.
And that's just this year. Yeah. But it gets much easier because you know the signs of that process, right? You know that, first couple of days it's easy, third day it's like, and then it's okay again. You know the pattern, the feeling. It's like you know that it's going to end and it's going to be better once it's gone. As you're not thinking, man, am I? If you think the first time you ever try and quit something or do something, you think that feeling will last forever. That horrible.
Yeah, and you have that almost like nervous kind of energy around, and it's like,
yeah, is this ever going to go away? Yeah, and the same when you go to the gym. It's like you first go and you feel a bit anxious because there's lots of other people in there, and you're like, am I doing it right? And then you start to realize that everybody probably thinks like that. And then eventually you just don't care anymore and you'll go in and, do whatever.
It just becomes a thing that you do. And I guess that's the thing with consistency as well, but you want it to be a bit like the gym thing where it just becomes, it's just that thing that I do. And you kind of just do it without thinking about it and without it being like a big deal or whatever. I guess that's the ideal anyway. But you're just making consistent progress on something and it's not being a chore. It's just part of your everyday life, just like how you'd brush your teeth. It just becomes like a thing.
I like that. It's like, I want that on a t-shirt. That needs to be the way forward. So how would we wrap this up to our listeners and to our audience? Like, what's the one golden nugget of advice on consistency, Adam, that you would give our avid listenership?
Listeners of you out there should subscribe and watch each show consistently, including shorts and everything.
I agree with that. And then we will consistently make more money. And of course, we will give more back to our viewership in the listenership in the way of our pearls of wisdom, So
exactly, because they don't come cheap. How about yourself? Do you have anything to wrap this up with in terms of consistency?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's about picking one thing and starting slowly with it, and then watching it develop. So if you've someone right now who's not really got many habits and you can't stick to the same thing, and you feel like you're jumping around all over the place in terms of what you're doing, just pick one thing, whether it's going for like a 20-minute walk every day or doing 10 push-ups or, picking up that sock on the stairs. Just make sure that you do it every single day, do it for a month, 6 weeks, and be conscious of what is changing and happening and how your thought process is in your head while you're going through it. And that you'll find that you can apply that to then many other things.
Once you've mastered one thing, you find it easy to master everything else.
Exactly. So that would be my advice. So next week, we don't really know what we're doing, so we will tell you in that video when you tune in. So there's a cliffhanger for you. If you've enjoyed this, tell your friends, tell your mum, tell your dad, get us some more likes, get us some more subscribes. Consistently come and watch our videos. And until the next time, Adam, thank you very much for coming today. I appreciate your presence as always.
Indeed, sir. And see you next time, folks.